Hey everybody, thanks for joining us this afternoon. I know we've got quite a few people from different parts of North America, so thanks for spending the afternoon with us. I'm Dave Mattson, CEO of Sandler Training. Today we're talking about selling strategies to stay ahead of the competition. And as you've heard us say at Sandler many times, our customers are somebody else's prospect. So we're always going to have to find ways to stay ahead of that competition. And that competition could be a third party, one that you battle every single day, or it could be really complacency. The competition could be not doing anything. You know, if I've always said a non-decision is probably the worst thing that you could ever get, so you want to make sure that you're paying attention to how to get that done. And so we're going to have a lot of stuff that we're going to cover. It's going to be fast-paced today. And for those who don't know Sandler, just quick 30,000 feet. Sandler's an award-winning training organization, and here's what we're experts at. We're experts at sales, sales management, customer service. Those are some big buckets, but anything in the prospecting, qualifying, selling, anything that would help you become more productive as a sales manager, sales leader, or a salesperson. We've got 30 minutes. We're going to cover a ton of information that probably we could spend, a whole day covering today. I'm excited. We've got a guest, Jamie Shanks, the CEO of Sales for Life, with us today. I'm a big fan of what Jamie does and Jamie himself. So, Jamie, why don't you give us a little overview of you and your company?
Fantastic. So we are the de facto standard, the company of record for social selling for organizations, specifically enterprise and marketing organizations around the world. I've trained 60,000 sales and marketing professionals so far. And we have one mission in life, and that is to help every sales and marketing organization go through a digital transformation and ensure that they're meeting their buyers where their buyers are doing due diligence, which is online. And so I'm so excited, Dave. We've done some great things together, and let's rock and roll.
Yeah, I am too, Jamie. And of course, we could spend all day talking about how the sales world has transformed over the last 5 to 10 years and into the digital and all the things that it's kind of changed the landscape of how people buy and how people sell. And so it's interesting, and we'd love to get your insights throughout the day. But let's kind of jump in because we've got a short amount of time. Some of the selling strategies to stay ahead of that competition. So what are some of the things that we want to make sure that we really pay attention to? One is KARE. And so let me talk a little bit about what that means. One is that we want to make sure that we're paying attention to our accounts with the right amount of time and the right amount of energy depending on what type of account that they are. And so we use an acronym called KARE here at Sandler. And KARE is K stands for keep. What are the accounts that I want to keep? They are profitable for me, they love me, I love them, and I want them to be clients forever. A stands for attain. Those are on my hit list. So where do I, in my territory or my account plans, I've got an account or two that I've been charged with, go get them, make them a client of ours, and we're out actively prospecting in any way possible so they can become a client of ours. R is for recapture. Those are for accounts that used to be in our keeps, right? We used to have them as a keep, but for whatever reason, they left us. And they left us because we were outsold or something happened, there was a change in management, whatever the case may be, but we want them back. And the last category is E, and that's for expand. Those are people that are in our keep category because we love them, and we want to expand the amount of business that we're actually doing with them. And that's interesting because it's 5 times less expensive to sell additional products and services to our customers than it is to go get net new. And so how do we stay ahead of the competition? Why is KARE here? Here's why it's here in the simplest of terms. Because if we don't segment our clients as far as how much time, energy, and our approach that we're going to spend in each one of these 4 categories, we tend to gravitate towards whatever we're comfortable with. For instance, most of the salespeople, depending on their compensation program, will spend a lot of time on attain. They want net new business, and that's maybe because they are comped that way. And however, if they're not comped that way, they tend to gravitate towards just the keeps. They're spending a lot of time and energy on accounts that they want to keep, but they're not paying attention to how to expand an account and how to attain an account. So you tend to fall into your own comfort zones depending on where you are and what you like to do and don't like to do. So how to stay ahead of the competition is to have a well-balanced approach. And that's from a behavioral plan, as we at Sandler call a cookbook. So how much time am I going to spend in each one of these 4 categories? What's my approach in each one of these 4 categories? Because obviously you're going to use different strategies to keep an account than you would to attain an account. So if you just think about these 4 categories, it'll always help you stay ahead. Because again, if you're only spending time on attain, you're not showing the love and you're not doing your due diligence on your existing client base, and they will be hawked by your competitors. It's just common sense, and that's what's going to happen. So Jamie, talking about a little bit about customer segmentation and the things that you've seen over the years, any thoughts?
Well, this is the KARE program was actually critical in myself founding this business. And let me help you understand growing a small business from 1 employee to 20. And what we first needed to understand was what was our ideal customer profile, and it took some time to understand what is our sweet spot, what was the demographic and firmographic and buying behavioral information we needed to capture. But if I wrap KARE, which you talked about keeping and attaining and segmenting your database as to who should I spend the 80-20 rule with, the Pareto curve. I'm going to spend 80% of my time, I'm going to spend 80% of my time with those that are going to produce 80% of the results. What I'd recommend from a digital perspective is start understanding digital buying behavior patterns. We call it the content consumption story. And very quickly and simply, any sales professional partnering with their marketing team can identify the digital fingerprints that customers are leaving from the very beginning of creating a net new lead all the way to customer, all the way to advocate, so somebody who's been a customer for quite some time. All of the ebooks, infographics, podcasts, webinars, just like this, that they're reviewing, you can monitor that consumption and start creating patterns and trends towards that information to give you insight as to this particular buyer persona or ideal customer profile will consume in certain patterns. And when they show these patterns, it gives us, the sales professionals, the ability to have A, more contextual conversations, and B, I'm not going to spin my wheels. I'm going to spend my time on accounts that are most likely to yield results because of historical patterns from previous customers. So we're doing this all the time, Dave, to answer your question, but we're using digital history patterns to help us segment who we should keep and who we should leave based on results.
If I want to keep an account, would I then, can I go to the level of detail that says, hey, within that particular account, the following people loved that particular white paper or loved that, and then I can actually see who within my account has interest in different topics, and then also what they're starting to investigate. So maybe I've sold them product A, but they're now downloading an awful lot about product C, even they haven't said that to me, and now I get a head start?
100%. So I'll give my own business as the example. Our average customer will consume 7.4 assets. An asset will be ebooks, infographics, webinars like this before they buy. So as part of a keep versus discard, if a buyer has not consumed getting towards this number of assets before we're at proposal stage, the question is, do they warrant a proposal? Are we really working with the right type of customer? Are they properly educated? Other statistics, 43% of that consumption is going to happen before my inside sales team will pick up the phone and call them for the first time. That's telling you that nearly 50% of that buying journey is happening before we get involved. Again, if that customer isn't self-educating and isn't doing their own due diligence, the question is, are they going to be the right customer to not only win, but to service? So we're always doing that kind of regression analysis using digital content consumption stories.
So that's very cool. I think from we can always take a poll when we're in front of people. Is sales a science or is it an art form? And really what you've just described is we've moved way past art form and we're now in science. If you know how many touches or exposures they have to have and downloads in order before they're a prospect, that is very cool. All that stuff that you just talked about, I think some of us have taken for granted. We don't pay attention to it. But as the world is now going, and obviously it's been there for some time, this is important stuff that will help us better educate ourselves as sellers when to engage, when to spend our resources, when to bail, because the most precious commodity that we have is time. And we spend an awful lot of time talking about qualifying accounts, but we could spend the equal amount of time on when is it time to disqualify an account. And regardless of what our prospect or customers tells us, you've got data that says they're not ready yet or they are ready. So I love that, and hopefully people would say, "Wait a minute now, I'm not doing that. I really need to start paying attention." So I love that, Jamie. Hey, let's talk a little bit about customer satisfaction. Now, one of the ways to stay in front of your competitors from a sales strategies perspective is to make sure that you've got happy customers, right? Because again, there's only two things that a salesperson is supposed to be doing. One is to protect and grow my existing relationships. The other is to plunder somebody else's relationships, right? And if they're really happy with your competitor's product or service, chances are you don't have an opportunity. So you've got to hit when they're dissatisfied, and it could be dissatisfied about service, it's dissatisfied about whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But that's when they're going to move from a non-decision to a decision, because I also think that prospects fantasize, and partially it's true, about how much aggravation and time it takes to switch from your competitor to you. So the devil they know is sometimes better than the devil they don't. And that's unfortunately some of the things that we have to overcome all the time. So what is client satisfaction? How does that help us shut down our competitors? Here's how it works. When you have made a sale, and you could do this with a prospect, but I've always found it works much better with a customer. When you sit down with a person on the buying team, and I say that because you should be doing this with each individual on that buying team or the people who are going to use your product and service, and say something like the following. Hey, listen, let's assume for a second we're going to just bring world-class products to the table, and that's what you've bought, and we'll certainly deliver. But what are the top 3 things that I could do personally in order to make sure this relationship is a home run for you or 100% satisfactory? What could I do? Now, what you're doing here, group, is that you're saying, look, I understand that you're expecting world-class services and products. Got that. But what can I do personally? And you may get the tongue-in-cheek from a client that'll say, well, you certainly could lower the price. And then I'll say, well, that's nothing that I can control. If it were up to me, Fred, I'd give it to you for free. So I know I can't do that, but what could I do? And this is really important, because what's going on is you're looking for individual satisfaction criteria. And that is very, very important. Here's why. Because there may be somebody on the team who pushed the sale through, where the company bought your product and service because they felt that it solved this problem. But if you have 5 or 6 people on the buying team, they're all looking at your product and service differently. They have different satisfaction criteria. So by you asking them individually, hey, what can I do to make sure that our relationship is 100% satisfactory to you? I've done this for many, many years. You will hear different answers depending on what they do in the company and what's important to them. So that's my first aha, because your competitors are not asking those questions. So that's your first genius attack. The second thing that you want to do is, once you get this, you actually have to do something about it. So what does that mean? Well, I want you to pull that piece of paper out every 90 days. So if they said, here are the 3 things that I'd like you to do, Dave, and you've helped them and you understood, I want you to say, Fred, remember these are the 3 things that you thought that you wanted from me in order to make sure that our relationship is just right, 100% satisfactory? Yep. Give me a grade. Judge me. Give me how am I doing? A, B, or C? And now I'm doing this for a reason. Here's why. It's one thing to know the satisfaction criteria. It's a second to have them tell you how they feel about it. Because if they give me an A, I'm less likely to have my competitors, on a random cold call, or even if they're pounding my client, they're not able to get in because they've actually verbalized that they're 100% happy. So there's no room for my competitors to conquer or to steal my account. However, if they say, Dave, you got an A in service, but there's really a C over here in follow-up, now I have an opportunity. First of all, I'm aware of it. Because I don't think customers leave because there's a massive problem. I think problems fester, and then they tend to make a switch. So if I know they're unhappy, I can acknowledge it, and then I work on a plan to fix that so it's back to an A. So either way, any information is good information. If you will do this every single time, you will make sure that the competitors are shut out of your account, and you use from a keep, which is a happy customer, and set the stage to sell additional products and services to your customer base. So, Jamie, even in the digital, I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about understanding the individual criteria. How important is it?
Yeah, so from a tactical level, there's two things that come to mind that I'd love to chat about. The first is, I think, the number one driver to ensuring customer satisfaction and stickiness of an account is removing yourself from what we call the commodity zone. The commodity zone is simple. You win a deal, you start servicing the account, and your customer success team, and we're talking about that person right now, is just talking about features and advantages and benefits, and they're just showing them how to use the product. That is a commodity, and your competitors can tackle that. You just flipped the slide that actually is the segment to what separates great customer service, good customer service from great customer service. And as you're providing insights, that is roadmaps, pitfalls, challenges, market research, competitive intelligence. I'll give you an example. Today, LinkedIn released a new tool within, if you have a premium account, you go to any company's page. So if I went to Sandler Training's company page on LinkedIn, there's a section called Premium Insights. It now shows me every person every month that's taking a new job at Sandler, every person that's leaving Sandler, their growth patterns per month. It shows me the segmentation of sales versus marketing versus IT versus finance. What did we do? We filmed that today. It's a blog on our site this afternoon. We'll send it to every customer of ours. The biggest way to have your account be sticky is you have to provide value so far above and beyond your customer that the customer says, I can't leave you because you are a data point. You are a library for me on competitive intelligence, market intelligence, and so forth. From a tactical level, as we're about to jump into insights, every customer success person, I say this a million times, yet rarely do I find somebody actually do it. It's amazing what Facebook can do for customer success. Let me paint that picture. For us, we service enterprise tier 1 accounts globally. So you have the ADPs and the Juniper networks and the Oracles of the world, or I don't get to meet our customers face to face as often as I'd like. But what we do with our great customers that we talk with on the phone, we connect with them on Facebook. And every weekend they're seeing myself at the cottage with our kids. I'm restoring an old classic truck. They see my ski vacations, and I see the same of their lives. And the important piece here is we form really sticky relationships. So the next time we're on the phone, they're asking about the family, they're asking about the kids, and our relationship is totally different. So anyways, those are two tactics I thought, Dave, that we can outline that would help not only customer success, but where insights is driven through customer success.
And we have something called the fuzzy file, which is where you want to go beyond the business. Like, here's a market survey, here's that, and you want to touch that person on a personal level. And so when you're going to Facebook, you're really looking for things that you can connect with them. Like, so for instance, if I saw that you were a soccer coach and I sent you a quick outline or an article on soccer and said, hey, Jamie, thought you might like to read it. Now I've connected, I've used that event, right, that I saw that you were comfortable with, and I tied it here. So one of the things I want to ask you real quick, Jamie, is people may say, well, what am I supposed to send as far as insights? What would I actually do there? Because I don't want to spend 100 hours deciding what makes sense, what doesn't make sense. So does it really matter? Or if I'm just continually sending insights out, some fit, some won't, it's okay. It's more important that you do something.
So I would say it depends on where you are in the buyer's journey. To create interest and intrigue, so the top of the sales funnel, you need to provide data points or stories or paint a picture of opportunity cost to a problem they didn't even realize they had. That's what pushes them from status quo to a priority shift. Okay, so now all of a sudden you're in the middle of the funnel, towards the bottom end of the funnel, where you've had a demo and proposal. Now it's about nurturing. And the type of insights you want to provide there are basic roadmaps, 30-day implementation plans. What does success look like in the first 90 or 180 days? You're basically taking away the confusion. I call it the yellow brick road theory. So you are paving the path to make it seem very simple to buy. And then with customer success, you're just enhancing. You take the solution they've already purchased and you're constantly enhancing market knowledge on top of that solution. That's going to allow some of the upsell. And in between that, you're drip campaigning cross-selling opportunities. So if you have a cross-section of other solutions, you're providing, again, it's almost like a net new sale. You're painting opportunity costs of things they may not have realized exist, so you can start net new conversations. For us, in our business, the average buyer will consume, of the 7.4 that they'll consume, 4 to 5 of those will be infographics. So for us, our buyers love one-page printable visual diagrams that show roadmaps. So our content team builds one a week. And so that is a huge conversation starter for us.
I got it. And so you're also then going to use Facebook and other things to identify whatever those trigger events are?
Yeah, so from a trigger-based selling, our favorite trigger-based selling is job change alerts. 10x. Craig Elias, who wrote the book Shift, really in 2013 opened my eyes to the concept of job change alerts. But when you take an advocate who's an existing customer and they up and they leave and they move to a new account, that first 90 days is when they're most pliable. And they want to bring in the people, the process, and technologies that made them successful in the past. And that's when we'll leverage LinkedIn, which will provide us automatic trigger alerts to say, by the way, somebody left, ADP and they've moved on to, Thomson Reuters. Now you should have this conversation with Thomson because your advocate is there.
Yeah. I think, it's shame on us when we make a call and you say, hey, where's Mary? Oh, Mary left 2 months ago and you had no idea, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
That's early signs of you're failing. So that's not a good thing. And there's no reason actually in today's world, as you're saying, for you not to know that piece of information. And, I do think in the first 90 days, people do have this high desire. They want to make a change. The company wants them to come and make changes. That's why they hired them, to improve whatever they're doing. And if you have the hindsight, you got the history with them and they have this comfort level with you, you should be all over that. And that's 100% true. Let's talk a little bit about getting our foot in the door if we can. And this is a concept called monkey's paw. And monkey's paw is really something that we can keep the competition out and certainly steal business from our competitors. And what I mean by that is everybody's out there elephant hunting, right? We all want the big deal. We all want that big one that's going to push us higher to our quota or our commission plan, whatever the case may be. But when I'm talking to salespeople, we're always talking about these massive accounts. And I'll always ask them, is there something that you could sell much faster, maybe even, this week, this month, that they would buy now? Yeah, but I've got this big multi-million-dollar deal. I say, I get that part. But is there anything that you could do right now? And they'll ultimately say, yeah, there is. Actually, I could sell an assessment, or I could do this over here. But again, I'm looking for that $10 million deal. I get it. But here's what I do know. That every large deal that Sandler has gotten, a worldwide implementation, came from a smaller engagement where we built trust, we built the relationship, we proved the value, and it was a much safer decision to spend that quote-unquote $10 million. And I think we should be looking for our foot in the door opportunities all the time. From a decision standpoint, it's much easier to make a small decision than it is a $10 million decision. And so that's there. And you also go from your selling to your servicing. and the relationship with your prospect, who is now a customer, changes, and the wall goes down. That buyer-seller wall kind of disappears, and you have more opportunity to talk to people and to find out what the real needs are for you to go to that next level in the sale. So here's the question, and then I'll let Jamie jump in on the opportunities and the referrals and introductions, is to where can you start the relationship today? And what could you do in order to help you close that bigger deal? And most people don't want to hear it, but when they do it, it works time in and time again. So, Jamie, thoughts on that? Because I know you're also going to be talking a little bit about the referrals.
Well, yeah, Dave, I didn't realize it was called a monkey paw, but 90 days ago we had a monkey paw. So basically, our sales team came, we've been around for 3.5 years. Okay, so we're in the infancy, but we are, we have this global certification that nobody else has. The challenge with social selling was you're taking people from status quo to a university level certification program for their sales and marketing team. So we'll call it a level 200. The challenge is for the last 3 years, we didn't have a level 100. So it came to the point where, our deals were crossing into the 6 and the 7 figures. So the sales cycles were double in length and were more complex, more buy-in committee. But there was this obvious appetite from the buyer to create simple wins, simple business cases, get us in their PO systems, get some momentum with social. So our sales team helped us develop a product called Social Selling Kickstarter. And we did this as a monkey paw because, exactly to the point, Dave, that you made. If you look at our largest deals in our company's history, nobody woke up one day and said, I'm spending $1 million on social selling training. That is not a line item in any company on earth right now. But what is a pain point there that they could take, carve out 25, 50 grand, whatever it is, depending on the size of the organization. They say, my team, my business unit, I can be your business case. And that's why we built it, because, I love whale hunting. Whale hunting is like capital raises every time you win a deal. But, there's some risk with that, and you need to keep the lights on in a business. So.
That's right. So I know, because we've got a short amount of time, action-packed day, what's some of the things that you thought about as far as introductions and referrals?
Yeah, so it's how I started this business. I call it the sphere of influence. Easiest way to describe it, when I started this business, we had one customer. They were in Toronto, called Vision Critical. You take that one customer success story. I want you to slap that on a PowerPoint slide, and I want you to, leveraging LinkedIn, roadmap every person that used to work at that account that is now at a new company and is a form of a decision maker. I want you to map out every one of their competitors. I want you to map out the relationships from your customer, that you go into their LinkedIn network and see who they know. Type in, VP sales, VP marketing, and build this list, this one pager. That is your referral list. Every one of those people. You could sell the story to people that used to work at that company, people that know the decision makers from that company. This is how we went from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 250. And it was a multiplying effect of selling stories that people can contextually have something in common with. And we call it the sphere of influence. I hope that kind of gave something tactical to help people out.
Yeah, I think we could do this. Listen, every salesperson I've ever heard, say to me, Dave, if I had more leads, I'd be more effective. And then we talk about prospecting, we talk about that stuff. And it boils down to self-accountability. Because what you just talked about makes complete sense, right? It's common sense. But yet we don't go do that. And I don't know what it is. It may be a DNA flaw with salespeople. We always take the hardest road anywhere. This is kind of simple, right? They already love you. They know who you are. They know the work that you've done, and now you're going to track them, and you're going to have a conversation. It may lead nowhere, but it's a warm conversation because you know each other. You did it. We use it. I know we do the same thing. It's very, very effective. Hey, I know this has been quick, and we're about a minute out. And Jamie, I'll ask you for some last thoughts about some of the things maybe that we did talk about that you want to reinforce, or something that we didn't talk about that you can bring to the table. But I know the next time that you and I are together, we're doing a digital sales camp on July 21st, and which is action packed, and I'm really looking forward to that. Do you have any words on that?
Yeah, no, and actually, Dave, you gave me a great idea. Well, I love your methodology of KARE, because I see it. That's our methodology is called FEED. Go figure. A four-letter acronym. But what I love is the segmentation of accounts of not only figuring out what's most profitable, who you want to attack, but I'm a huge believer of the disqualification process. You want to save yourself time. And I would, maybe just as an idea, Dave, we should tackle that at the digital sales camp, is leveraging KARE and FEED together, because I'm a huge believer of what you're doing, being able to save people time, concentrate on what's going to move 80% of your needle.
I do. I agree, and I'm looking forward to that, and we definitely will cover that when we're together. I think what I've got out of today, and again, we're trying to cover a 2-day seminar into 30 minutes, which salespeople love, but at the same time, it's hard. I think if you just spend a certain amount of time saying, let's leverage the people and the companies that we're already doing business with. Let's look for patterns. Jamie very quickly said, here are the patterns that we have, that we know how many infographics they're looking at, how many downloads they have. I mean, really what it's boiling down to, the digital world has allowed you to become a scientist and take an MRI of the buying process, and then of course you can change your sales process to meet that. So check out the digital sales camp. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. I'm a huge fan of Sales for Life and Jamie and his team, and I look forward to doing more of these in the future, because I think if we can take the Sandler stuff and map it with, hey, this is also how it fits into the digital world, as we've done, I think that's just a home run. And I want to thank everyone that's joined us today. You will get an opportunity to get a recording of this. We'll send it out to you. I want to thanks for joining. We'll see you soon. Jamie, thanks a lot for coming.
Thank you very much, and look forward to seeing everybody at the digital sales camp.
Yeah, we look forward to it. Thanks, group. Thanks for joining today.